In this video, we'll be going through what discounted monthly and prepay care packages look like in ChiroHD, where to apply the discounts, and what the packages look like on the patient's ledger as services are rendered. There are two different ways to apply care package discounts in ChiroHD. In this video, we will utilize the Default Charges tab, and in the second video, we will utilize the Cash Fee Schedule. Both will accomplish the same goal, so you can ultimately determine which works best for your office. However, to utilize either method, you will need to know how much each total care package costs and how much the discounted individual services cost. So let's start with the prepay scenario first. Let's say that my prepay test patient signs up for a 12-visit care plan totaling a discounted rate of $600. Usually, our adjustment rate in this office here is $90 an adjustment. But since they're prepaying for care, we want the system to charge a discounted rate of $50 an adjustment. So $50 an adjustment times 12 adjustments equals $600. To process their payment of $600, we would first take their payment. So I'm going to make sure I'm on the right patient. I'm going to click on the transaction button, which loads the transaction modal. I'm going to click on payment. And here is where we encourage offices to add context to the payment itself. So I'm going to add 12 visits and prepay. Oops. Now I don't have an actual merchant provider in this test office, so I'm just going to move it to cash. And this patient is going to prepay for the entire $600, and I am going to hit submit. Now, if we go to the patient's ledger, you can see that they have a $600 credit on the account. Now we need to teach the system what discounted rate to apply as services are rendered as they progress through care. I'm going to now navigate to the patient's case, Default Charges tab. This is where we tell the system what services are included in the care package, how much to charge for the services, our discount reasoning, and frequency. So for simplicity's sake, we're just going to add an adjustment here. And you can see usually we charge the $90. Here we're going to edit the write-off amount since we only want to charge $50 an adjustment since they're really prepaying for an entire care package. So we're going to write off 40, so it ends up being 50. The write-off reason will be prepay. And the assumption with this care plan is that the patient is going to get adjusted at every single visit. So we're going to make sure that the charge frequency in this case is set to every visit. So the system will automatically apply the adjustment at the discounted rate at every visit. I'm going to save the changes. I'm going to leave the patient. And actually, I'm just going to refresh my browser. Sometimes that's good to do after you do a big change, like a financial change. And now we're going to see what this looks like on the patient's ledger as they're being checked in and as they're progressing through care. We want to see how the system automatically applies the discount moving forward. I'm going to check this patient in. And now I'm going to be a provider for just a moment. You can see that this prepay patient is in my queue. And you will notice that the adjustment is already in there. So the provider doesn't even need to add it, but they do, of course, need to add a SOAP note. So I'm just going to click on a couple things here and hit submit. Now my patient has in fact been seen. Now let's take a look what it looks like on Ledger itself. Now you can see that the credit has decreased by the cost of the discounted adjustment, the $40 write-off, automatically. So as the patient continues to come in for care, the credit will continue to whittle down, and at the completion of the care package, services rendered will equal services paid, therefore balancing at zero. So that's essentially how a prepay will work. Now let's take a look at a monthly auto-debit. Monthly auto-debit care packages will essentially work the exact same way as the prepay, but the only difference is that payments will come in phases versus all at once at the beginning. So the ledger may show a credit or a balance due at any given time, depending on when your auto-debit runs. So let's use the monthly example here. Let's say this patient, our monthly auto debit patient, is signing up for care and is paying their first monthly installment today. So we're going to use the same example, $600 care package, 12 visits. But instead of paying the $600 up front, they're paying their first installment of $200. We're going to do the same procedure. Process the transaction, select payment. We're going to do 12 visit, monthly. We're going to move this to cash for now because we are unable to do that in our test environment. But they're going to do their first $200 installment instead. Now, you're going to see same function, just a smaller credit because only one payment has gone thus far. Now, again, we will need to tell the system what services are included in this care package, at what discounted rate, and at what frequency. So we're going to navigate to cases, default charges. We're going to add our adjustment again. Same thing, we're going to have our same write-off amount, so it equals $50 in adjustment. I'm just going to do a professional write-off for now. And same assumption, they're going to get adjusted every single time they come in. I'm going to save the changes, and I'm going to do a hard refresh. Now, I am going to check this patient in, just so you can see what everything looks like. I'm going to be a provider here momentarily. My patient is waiting in queue. You'll notice that my charge, again, automatically populated. I'm just going to add a quick SOAP note. Hit submit. Go back to my home screen. And you can see there that the patient is kind of grayed out. There's a SOAP note that's complete. There's already a charge on there. But I want to show you what the ledger looks like. At this time, the only difference is that my credit is a little bit smaller since they didn't prepay for the whole package. So for speed's sake, I'm going to add a few more adjustments just so you can see what it looks like. I'm not going to check them in. I'm just going to add a couple adjustments on here. It automatically applies the discount. I'm just going to add one more adjustment. We're just going to pretend like they just keep getting checked in. I'm going to refresh my ledger. So now they only have a $50 credit. And at some point, that next auto debit is going to go through. So I'm just going to put another $200 auto debit on there, just so you can see what it looks like. And again, their credit is going to go up and down, and sometimes, depending on when that auto debit actually goes through, they may even show a balance due, but the same principle applies. At the end of care, services rendered will equal services paid, and the ledger will balance out to zero. So that is how you use default services for discounted care packages.